Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I wanted to say hello. I just got back from Atlanta. I love that city. I went down for some personal stuff. My brother's about to get married, so we did all the bachelor party thing. I'm actually the best man in the wedding, and he's I'm pretty close to him, and I'm real happy for him. And what I really loved and what I really respected about this gathering was that I was with a group of black men. A lot of these guys were like maybe in their 30s, and all these brothers were impressive. I'm talking about, like, went to great schools, love their families, work hard, do the things that I always argue that we need to do in order to build a community so that our children will have a better future than the one that we're living right now. And so I was on my way home, and I was tired as hell because I've been traveling and whatnot. And somebody sent me a link, and they sent me a link to this song by Tyler the Creator. I think he's on the track with Lil Wayne and Kanye, and yeah, Lil Wayne and Kanye and Tyler the Creator. And it was a song called Smuckers. And in the song, Tyler, he kind of has a very random, rap style. He kind of just spits in whatever direction he feels like going. I think he's very creative. He's very talented. And there's this line where he just says, "Boyce Watkins is a faggot." And I just kind of laughed. I thought it was so funny, because I know what that's referencing, because I think he's actually referenced me in other songs before, and I know what it comes from. It comes from 2 years ago when I had this situation with Mountain Dew, mainly with Lil Wayne, not so much with Tyler. Tyler didn't really hit my radar screen until the Mountain Dew situation took place, because he happened to be in the crossfire in a bigger battle, in a bigger situation. Now, just so you know, in case you're wondering, I wasn't offended by the verse. Actually, in case you don't know, sometimes if people hate you so much that they attack you publicly and they keep coming at you, that actually, to some extent, is actually a sign of respect, in the sense that they that somehow you've gotten under their skin, that you bother them so much that they keep talking about you. Not that that was my goal. My goal is not to piss off Tyler, or to make him feel unhappy or uncomfortable, or whatever distress he's feeling that makes him feel compelled to keep kind of coming at me like that. But honestly, I think that it does say something that maybe the fact that what I was saying to him a couple years ago has tapped into his conscience a little bit. Like in Kentucky, where I'm from, they have an old saying that says the hit dog always hollers. And so sometimes if people react to you, and this is just for people who don't know how to deal with animosity, first of all, love is always stronger than hate. Not to say I'm always strong enough to love my enemies, but in this case, I certainly have no ill will, no animosity toward Tyler at all. He's about the same age as one of my girls, and she's a big fan of his, and I want her to keep being a fan, because I think that even though there's a little bit of what Tyler has said in his music, some of the things he does, maybe I can't always sign off on everything, but my job is not to be the policeman of all of hip hop. It's really to just say, let's make sure that we think about the responsibility and the power of our words, so that we don't do things that are going to lead to this continuous 30-40 year genocide that's been inflicted on our community. You see, hip hop is, as Minister Louis Farrakhan said, and we talked about this in private conversation. He said that a rap song has more power than 1,000 of his lectures. And I agree with him. Hip hop is a powerful tool, or it can be a powerful weapon against you. And I would argue that up until about 93, 94, hip hop was used to empower black people, to get us to educate ourselves. Remember, KRS-One was like, "You must learn." Your Public Enemy saying, "Fight the power." And then suddenly somebody turned the gun and turned it back on us, and suddenly we were the target of our own destruction. We became both the aggressor and the enemy in this continuous path toward various forms of self-destruction. And I think that it's an easy argument, because I don't think anybody can argue that or that a song like the one I just heard recently, that says "drink something, smoke something, pop something, get fucked up," songs like that, that are continuously encouraging young people to stay high and drunk all the time, to kill each other, to do things that are going to let the white man put you in prison. That's not good for our family, because guess what? Our families are not going to do well. Our children will not prosper if we're continuously giving white folks a reason to lock up young black men, lock up our future husbands and fathers in our community. And as it stands right now, and I mentioned this on the Breakfast Club, and I'll say it till the day I die, The United States incarcerates more of its citizens than any country in the world. Most of those citizens are African American males. We incarcerate more black men in America than South Africa did during the height of apartheid. And if you don't understand this well enough to realize that you're in the middle of a, excuse my French, I was about to say a motherfucking genocide, then you need to go educate yourself. And Malcolm X always said to us that the white man will sell you the liquor bottle and then lock you up for being drunk. So he's going to sell you music that will poison your mind, poison the mind of your children to the point where they don't know which way is up. They're not trying to go conquer the world. They're not trying to go compete with Mark Zuckerberg. They're not trying to get into Harvard. They're trying to go drink something, smoke something, pop something, get fucked up, shoot a nigga in the head, and all these other things that you hear in this music. And as a result, they end up in one or two places. They end up in a prison cell or a casket. I see it all the time in the South Side of Chicago. It breaks my heart. My one of my very close friends is does autopsies, and basically, I say very close friends, actually a relative. I don't want to put her on blast though, but she says that basically that most of the homicide victims that she sees are young black men between the ages of 15 and 27. That should concern you. The Hitler Nazi Holocaust has nothing on what's happening in Black America right now. So if you want to know what kind of stuff I'm on, that's what I'm on. That's what I think about every day, every night when I'm sleeping at night because I see our people dying, and I just can't. I can't support that. Now, let's go back to Tyler the Creator. Here's the thing: as I mentioned to you before, I have no ill will toward Tyler. I studied him a little bit, especially after he ended up in the crossfire of the Lil Wayne thing. Now, let me tell you the story how that went down. Lil Wayne was the original person that I had an issue with, not because I hate Lil Wayne. Not because I don't think Lil Wayne is not talented. I think Lil Wayne is, in fact, as I was telling you, how when somebody is critical of you, sometimes it's because they have a certain type of respect for you. I feel like Lil Wayne is a genius. Lil Wayne reminds me a lot of what Malcolm Little was before he met the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Lil Wayne is a guy who has an amazing amount of brilliance and creativity, but unfortunately, he was so traumatized as a young man. He went through so many things. He got shot when he was, I think, 11 years old. He tried drugs at a very early age. He was mentored by all the wrong people, and he's starting to realize some of that. He's finally figuring out that baby has been screwing him. And so Lil Wayne is a person, in my opinion, who has the power to shape the universe, but unfortunately, no one has ever guided him to use that power to elevate as opposed to oppress. He's never been taught to use that power to build as opposed to destroy. And so when you analyze a lot of Weezy's lyrics, and again, I'm not going to say anything about 98% of the lyrics that I hear because I do believe in creative expression and people doing whatever they want to do. And I know I'm 43, so I'm not going to always understand what a 20-year-old is going to want to listen to. Lil Wayne's not 20, but he appeals to maybe a 20-year-old. So I'm not here to judge all of that. I know I'm a huge fan of hip hop. I know I can appreciate good music, and in fact, I listen to a lot of Lil Wayne's music because I want to know what I'm talking about, and I want to be able to appreciate what he's putting out. But the thing is that there's that last 2% of the music that I can't sign off on. Man, as a black man who supposedly cares about the people in your hood, you cannot put out a song where you just casually mention the idea of raping and murdering a black woman, or murdering a little baby, or murdering an old lady, or selling drugs in your community where these mamas are abandoning their kids because they're all strung out on crack. You can't celebrate mass incarceration. You can't do that. And what bothers me the most about some of this is that we shouldn't be fighting. There should not be a divide. We should be on the same side. That's what kills me. I'm like, dude, wait a minute. You've seen more people go to prison than I have. I've seen a lot, but you've probably seen more. You've seen more people get murdered than I have. I've seen a few, but you've seen more. You've seen more poverty than I have. I've seen a lot of poverty, but you've seen more. You've seen the devastation in our community. So why in the world would you let these big racist corporations convince you to use your power, your brilliance, to destroy your people as opposed to build them up? That is common sense 101. You ain't got to be a professor or have a PhD to understand that. So with Lil Wayne, it kind of came to a head when he made that lyric about Emmett Till. And in case you don't remember, he made a lyric where he said basically, when I get done hitting the pussy, it looks like Emmett Till's face after he was, when he was beaten and killed and put in the casket. He didn't say it like that, but basically he was comparing a woman's vagina after he had sex with her to what Emmett Till's face looked like when he was in that casket. And in case you don't know, Emmett Till was a 15-year-old kid who went from Chicago, went to Mississippi, who was beaten and murdered, beaten to a pulp for looking at a white woman. And so So I got a call from Jesse Jackson's people, and they were deeply concerned, and they asked me to partner with them in terms of trying to ask Lil Wayne to retract that lyric, to apologize for what he said, or to do something about this. Lil Wayne didn't do anything. Lil Wayne kind of blew off everybody, and that's what happens sometimes. You know, you get Negroes that get a whole lot of money from these big white corporations. They think that they don't have to listen to black people anymore, and I think it's atrocious. I mean, people don't understand how. And I'm not talking about all white people being evil. I'm not on that stuff. I'm talking about when I say the white man, I'm talking about this culture, this oppressive society, this structural racism that in which economic power controlled mostly by whites, is used to drive a wedge between black people who might otherwise work together. It goes back to the plantation. The field Negro and the house Negro end up fighting each other when really they need to be fighting their oppressor. So same thing was true here. I was the field Negro. He's the house Negro. He's the one getting the money from the white man. White men don't pay me. I don't get hooked up like that. I used to until they found out that I was a radical black man, which basically means you're speaking the truth in a way that's going to empower black people. By loving black people, sometimes people think that means you must hate white people, which is about one of the most ignorant thing in the world. But what it does is it's a deliberate psychological ploy to convince you to hate yourself so much that you become addicted to your own self-destruction, your own genocide. So Lil Wayne spits this lyric out. He's not listening to me. He's not listening to Reverend Jackson. He ain't listening to nobody because that ain't got, he's still gonna get his money. He can still go get his scissor and all that, whatever. I don't know if they even call it scissor anymore, but you know what I'm talking about, that purple crap people drink. That drives me crazy. A black man is never at his best when he's high and drunk. So never ever let people convince you that your job as a black man is to stay high and drunk all the time. You go throughout all of human history, nothing great has ever been accomplished by any group of people who stayed high and drunk all the time. That is a fact. Now, so Lil Wayne ain't listening to nobody. A few months later, I get a call from Emmett Till's, the representative of the Emmett Till family, who says we got a chance to deal with this Lil Wayne thing. Now, I had kind of moved on from it. I just kind of said, okay, we said our piece. He didn't respond. It is what it is. But they asked for my help again because they said, look, he's about to go on tour, on a world tour with Ti. And they're being sponsored by Mountain Dew. At least that was the understanding that I had at the time. And I listened, and I just said, well, I don't really think Lil Wayne's going to listen. And here's the other thing that bothers me a lot. I think Ti is one of the most talented commercialized rappers out here. I mean, I've always respected what Ti does. I respect a lot about Ti. In fact, he reminds me a lot of my father, a man who was less than perfect, but a man who cared about his kids, took care of his family, did his best to represent manhood based on how he was taught it. And not everybody's taught manhood the same way, so I have a lot of margin of error when black men see the world differently from me. I don't judge you until you start to hurt the people that I care about. When you start hurting our children, then I have to deal with you because my job as a black man is to protect my community from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. That means that sometimes that enemy might also happen to have a black face, which means I might have to confront you and deal with you and kind of say, look, man, this is not acceptable in our community, in the place that you and I both care about. And I think every black man watching should understand that that's your job as a man, to protect the people that you care about. You got to hold it down for the people you love, and don't let people come in here because they sold out or because they've been addicted to poison come in and hurt the people that you're supposed to protect. And that's what's happened. We become addicted to money. We become addicted to psychological genocide. We become addicted to a lot of things that are not healthy for us. And again, I think that goes all the way back to slavery for the same reasons we eat chitlins. Even though we know pig guts are not good for us, but we eat them because we've been eating them since Master was feeding us the pig guts back on the plantation. It's something that we're just addicted to doing. So, long story short, lo and behold, Lil Wayne's world tour starts, and then somebody sends me this commercial, and they're like, "Did you see this Mountain Dew ad?" And I'm like, "Wow!" I watched it, and I was floored. I was absolutely floored. It was one with Felicia the Goat, and it had a battered white woman who was all traumatized because she had been beat up, and they had a lineup of a bunch of so-called criminals, all of whom were black men. Every one of them was a black man except the goat. There was a goat in the middle, and the goat was basically a brother. The goat was like, snitches get stitches, fool, and I'm nasty. You should have gave me some more. And he's talking about Mountain Dew, but he's also talking about, about the woman. So I guess the double entendre kind of thing or whatever. And here's why the ad bothered me. Now, at that point, I did not know who made the ad. I had no idea. What bothered me about the ad was, which had Mountain Dew's name on it, is that it continued to perpetuate the image of the black man as a dangerous criminal thug, hoodlum, violent person that you need to be afraid of. Now, you might think that that's just entertainment. You might think it has nothing to do with the real world. Well, guess what? I know a ton of black men who went to court on a charge that for something they did not commit and were told to take a plea bargain because the attorney told them that they would never be found not guilty by an all-white jury because they are black. When Brian Banks out in California went up for a rape that he did not commit, a girl accused him of rape, he didn't do it. He said, I want to go on trial. I want to defend myself on the stand. I want access to justice like everybody else. His attorney flat out told him, Brian, you are a big black man. While an all-white jury will never acquit you, you need to go ahead and take the plea. And if you look at look at what happens systematically, a lot of black men are in prison for things they didn't do in many cases because there is pressure for them to take a plea before they ever get access to a free and fair trial. And so if you're telling me that if I take a plea, I'm going to get 10 months in jail and a felony on my back that I got to carry with me through the rest of my life, but if I try to actually access justice and go on trial, that I might get 20, 30 years, well, you're not giving me justice. That's torture. Torture is when you say, look, you can have access to justice if you want. But if you go up in front of all these white people and you lose, you're going to be locked up so long that you won't ever see your kids again. You won't see your kids until your children have grandchildren. That's how long we're going to lock you up. That is torture. Now, what does this have to do with this commercial, this Mountain Dew commercial, and these brothers in the lineup? Well, it continues to feed the propaganda that leads these all-white juries that are sending black men to prison by the boatload. Remember, black men are the most incarcerated group of human beings on the planet. There are more black men incarcerated in America right now than South Africa did during the height of apartheid. Part of the reason that these black men are going to prison is because either A, they're being tortured and forced into taking pleas, or they're going in front of these all-white juries that are sent them to prison because all the lawyer has to do to get a conviction is prove that this black man is probably a thug. And it's easy to believe for these white people, many of whom don't have any black friends, because media has fed the image of the black man as nothing but a criminal and a thug and a dangerous person. That's why when you are repeating lyrics in a song that say things like I'm a thug nigga, I'll shoot a nigga, I don't give a fuck nigga, do you understand what you're doing? You're feeding propaganda that is leading to a validation for your extermination. That is what is happening here. When Hitler wanted permission from the German people to kill the Jews, he couldn't just walk out there and say, I want to find a bunch of innocent people and murder them for no reason. Will you go along with that? They wouldn't go along with that. Most human beings would never support something like that. No, what he did was he used the media. He used propaganda to paint the Jew as savage, as dangerous, as a menace to society, almost like a roach or a rat or a mouse that needs to be exterminated, like just some vile vermin, like a virus on your society that needs to be eliminated. Well, if you don't think that that's how they see the black man in America, then you are out of your mind. That is exactly how they see the black man in America. They see us as a virus. That's why the police can shoot black men and not let alone get acquitted, not even get indicted. Do you understand that it's very rare for somebody to be brought up before a grand jury and not be indicted? I'm talking about like 1% maybe, something like that. But almost every cop that murders a black man doesn't even get an indictment. Why is that? Because people cheer for him because he eliminated the virus. He's killing a rodent. No one will ever prosecute you for shooting a rat or a mouse or stepping on a cockroach. So, if you understand that media perpetuates this myth of the black man as a dangerous, violent, criminal thug, then you understand that this has real impact on a real impact on real people's lives. So now you understand, I hope, why I took issue with this Mountain Dew commercial where they have this innocent, frightened white woman standing in front of all these big, scary black men. I had no idea that Tyler the Creator made that commercial. I didn't know anything about Tyler. I'd heard his name like 3 times. That's it. I ain't even listened to the brother's music. I had no idea that these were his friends. Neither does the audience. Nobody knows. All they know is that Mountain Dew put out a commercial that had a bunch of black men looking like criminals and a white woman who was afraid for her life, standing next to a white police officer who was protecting her from the big scary black men. Do you understand how this goes back to history? In Black Wall Street, when the massacre of Black Wall Street, 1921, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, part of the reason that whites were able to go into this wealthy, affluent black neighborhood and murder a bunch of the men and lock up the rest and go house to house and loot the house and burn the house down one by one in a systematic fashion, part of the reason they were able to do that and never ever be put on trial is because of the media. The media shared propaganda in which they painted a picture for the public. The picture was black people are becoming savages. They're out of control because you know how these niggas get when they lose their mind. And these brave white men who've been deputized, so they got the power of the state behind them now. They're not vigilantes anymore. The state has backed them to go in and execute black men because media has fed the image of the black man as a criminal, violent, dangerous thug. So that same way media was used in 1921 is the same way media can be used in the year 2015. So this commercial was part of this continuous propaganda effort to paint the black man as a violent criminal. I can't sign off on that. Now, it just so happened that I also knew that Mountain Dew was connected to Lil Wayne's tour. And the best way to get a Negro's attention, no matter how high and drunk he might be, is you mess up his cash flow. In case you want to know, if you ever want to get somebody's attention, mess up their money a little bit. I learned that I know money. That's what I studied. That's what I got my PhD, and I taught money for 20 years at different universities. So I know how money affects people's lives. A lot of people, unfortunately, worship money. They think money makes them a better person, makes you a smarter person, makes you a more relevant person. It doesn't make you any of those things. It's just something that people can sometimes use to control you. You think money can liberate you, but actually sometimes money controls you. So I said, okay, let's get this dude's money. And so what I did was I wrote an article about it. I didn't know how many people were going to read it. I knew we got a couple 100,000 people that subscribe to Your Black World, and I knew that Lil Wayne still hadn't refused to apologize for this Emmett Till lyric. I knew that Lil Wayne, unfortunately, has chosen to use his power for evil as opposed to good, and he need to be confronted to at least know that the black community will stand up to you if you're coming in here feeding messages that are going to lead to the deaths of our children. I knew that, so I wrote the article. By the next morning, about 50,000 people had read it. By the afternoon, it was 100,000. Then other media outlets started picking it up. Next thing you know, it was a few million, and it was all over the place. Then boom, drops in Tyler the Creator, and that's when Tyler talks about the fact that he made the commercial and unfortunately because he's young, I don't think he understands that. And I think he's 21, 22, 23. No, I don't think he's older than 25. He thinks that because a black man made the commercial that it's okay. And what I would have explained to him, and I talked to my friend at All Hip Hop, Chuck Creekmer. We exchanged it. I gave him my number, and I said, "Give my number to Tyler, and he can call me, and I'll tell him why I said what I said. I have no shame in what I say. I stand by every point I've ever made at any point in my life. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll admit when I'm wrong." And I said, "Look, Tyler doesn't understand that." People who are watching this commercial, they don't know that you're black. They don't know a black man made it. In fact, a lot of the most effective racism in America is perpetrated by the hands of black people, because some people believe that if you think in a one-dimensional fashion, that if I put a black face on coonery or a black face on bigotry, that you're going to think it's okay because, oh, well, a black man gave it to me, so it must be good. Every person with a black face is not your friend. They're not your friend. But here's the thing about Tyler that made me feel really bad, actually, is that Tyler was kind of like collateral damage. I had no beef with Tyler, the Creator. I didn't screw him. I mean, and I think he's mad because it cost him some money. I think he must have, that Mountain Dew money, I don't know how much they paid him, but I'm sure they paid him a lot. And I'm sure he's pissed off because he lost his money. And I know that there's no way for him to really even effectively hear my message because he's probably just mad about losing the money. Because sometimes some people are convinced, and this was the issue I've always had with BET. And now, just so you know, I'm not as critical. I don't go out to BET as much because I think that they're actually trying to change the ship a little bit, and I respect that. But unfortunately, so many of us have been taught that if you make enough money doing something, that it must be okay. Oh, I make my money raping and murdering little children. Well, if he paid though. Did you see the car he's driving? Did you see the house he's got? People literally will think that if you make money, then any activity that you're engaged in, anything you're doing, no matter how heinous, how reckless, how irresponsible, how hurtful, whatever, that it's always okay as long as you're getting that paper. You can't live like that. You can't sell your soul to your oppressor. And also, you can never become addicted to a commodity that you do not control. Black people don't control the money. White folks got all the money. So if they know that you're such a coon that you will do whatever they tell you because they give you money, that they're going to control you in a thousand different ways. They're going to make you such a puppet that you won't even know who you are anymore. You won't have a soul. You're not the man of your house anymore. Somebody else is the man of your house. And I brought that up on the Breakfast Club, and I only share that because from an authentic place, that was my journey. I had to learn to get over my addiction to money so that I could become a more liberated black man and learn how to lose friends by speaking the truth, by representing my people, as opposed to always feeling that I needed validation from a white man in order for me to feel like I was an important person. Everybody goes through that. It's part of our brainwashing process, and I'm a victim too. Now, okay, so what I'm going to say is this. So at that point, and I'm not going to keep on dragging this on, but at that point, Tyler, and I kind of had a back and forth in the media. I tried to explain my point of view. Truth is, though, I didn't expect him to listen because I know that he probably lost a lot of money off this deal. I would have loved to have mentored him. I feel like Tyler is he. I feel like he struggles. I feel like he's a young guy who didn't have a good father figure in his life, and that's why I'm so hurt that so many children don't get to grow up with a man in the house. I hate the fact that we don't respect the role of the man in the house anymore. That some people act like you don't need a man in the house in order to raise young boys effectively, but that's nonsense. In fact, if I cussed, I might even say that's bullshit because most of the time, 99.9% of the time, a man needs to learn to be a man from another man. A boy becomes a man because another man teaches him the template of manhood. And I feel that Tyler, and I've listened to his verses carefully because when I hear his genius, and he is a genius, he's a little odd, but that's why he's successful, and I respect that, right? So when I listen to his music, I'm hearing a guy who definitely does says things off the wall in order to get attention. That works. That's what people do. But then I also hear a little bit of pain. I hear a guy who maybe didn't have his father around growing up. I'm not sure of his whole story. I don't know him like that. But I think that he wants a mentor. In fact, I saw another story where he was asking another rapper to mentor him. I would have gladly mentored him. But I'm not that person now because he's upset with me, and I understand that. But I feel that he's a little bit hurt, and I also feel that he's in this situation. It was unfortunate because he was definitely collateral damage. My issue was not really with Tyler; it was actually with Lil Wayne, and we succeeded. We got Mountain Dew to drop their sponsorship of Lil Wayne's tour. And I got a lot of criticism for it. I had a lot of people that got mad at me. They were like, well, why are you trying to stop a nigga from getting money? Like people would say stuff like that. And I'm like, look, it ain't about the success of one black man. One black man's success does not make up for the detriment and destruction of an entire community. So if you're out here spreading messages of poison that are getting our kids killed, and I'm talking about real stuff. I'm talking about Chicago South Side where you got drill music where kids are getting their heads blown off because they spit a certain type of rap verse, or music that's encouraging young kids to want to run around with guns and get high and drunk all the time and do things that are going to destroy themselves. This is having a real impact on people's lives. So my job is, once again, very simply put, to protect my enemies, or excuse me, to protect my community against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. So that means that if you happen to have a black face and you are contributing directly and consistently to things that I think are very harmful and destructive to our children, I have to confront you on that. It doesn't mean I want to destroy you. My goal is not to stop Lil Wayne from rapping or to ban him from ever making music. In fact, again, 98, 99% of what Lil Wayne says, even if I don't agree with it, even if it makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm not going to say anything because it's very awkward for me because I love hip hop music. I'm friends with a lot of rappers. There are a lot of rappers I think who get what I'm saying. Lil Boosie gets what I'm saying. Immortal Technique gets what I'm saying. There are other rappers out here who get what I'm saying. But there are some guys who I think are so caught up in the money that they don't understand the bigger picture. You're not a product of your environment. Stop rapping like you somehow that you just can't help but to be ratchet because that's just how you were raised. That's just you responding to what you went through in the hood, and you're just a product of your environment. No, you're not just a product of your environment. Your environment is a product of you. Those children are looking up to you. So when you look at artists, here's an artist that I love and respect so much, D1. If you want to look at a prototype of an artist who understands his power, D1 is down in New Orleans. What I love about D1 is this. D1 to me is basically like what he's to Lil Wayne what the good witch was to the bad witch in the Wizard of Oz. Almost identical genetically and culturally, but on the opposite sides of the spectrum. D1 is what Lil Wayne would have been if he'd been raised in a different context. He's what Lil Wayne would have been if he hadn't been traumatized as much, if he had been mentored by somebody other than Baby. And I'm not dissing Baby, but I don't think Baby's the best mentor, and I think Lil Wayne understands that because you see he's suing him now, and he's mad because they've been ripping him off for years, taking all his money. D1 is a leader like Lil Wayne. He's a brilliant lyricist like Lil Wayne. He also is an educated brother like Lil Wayne. But D1 makes it very clear that he understands that hip hop has power. Hip hop influences kids. If you don't believe hip hop influences the way kids think, then ask yourself, why do corporations spend hundreds of millions of dollars paying rappers to wear certain shoes or to wear certain clothes or to drink certain liquor? They do that because they know that people follow what rappers do. If you don't think rappers have influence, then you obviously know nothing about hip hop music. You know nothing about the power of hip hop. You don't respect the power of hip hop because hip hop is one of the greatest, most influential artistic mechanisms in all of history. So stop saying that it's just entertainment. It's not. It affects real people in terms of how they live and the choices they make. So, you know, I'll just say this, and I'm in on this. Um, I have no issue with Tyler the Creator. Once again, I want to reiterate that. I'm disappointed that he decided to call me a faggot. It was so random. I mean, the verse was just like, Butch Watkins is a faggot, and then he just keeps going. So I kind of got a kick out of it, to be honest. I thought it was actually kind of funny. Um, I don't know what Kanye's position is. As you know, I've worked a lot with Dame Dash, and he works with Kanye, and Kanye's in Chicago. And I'm in Chicago, so I assume we know something about each other. I know a lot about him. I don't know how much he knows about me, but I don't know how he feels about that verse one way or the other. Maybe he doesn't even care. I don't even know if he even looked at it. Lil Wayne, I assume he's not happy with me. Again, if you take somebody's money, they're not gonna be happy with you. But but as far as Tyler goes, I'm not mad about it. In fact, if that brother calls me right now and he talks to me with an open mind, I'll talk right back to him and I'll be completely honest with him. I'm not his enemy. My goal is not to fight you. My goal is not to make an enemy of anybody, but my goal is to love the children in our community with all my heart. To love my people as much as I can. I mean, it's hard. I can't always do everything that I want to do. I'm not going to do everything perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. This is not about my ego. It's not about me trying to look good or be cool. I'm not a cool person. I'm a nerd. I've always been a kind of a nerd, a little geeky in my whole life, and I don't pretend to be anything other than that. But at the same time, I'm very determined, and I'm also a man, and I think that these other men are men. I respect them as men, and I encourage you as men to stop letting these corporate puppet masters control you and get you to say and do things that you know are wrong. I mean, I don't have to tell you, like, I don't have to go explain to Lil Wayne why it's wrong to rap about murdering little babies. Like, he understands that he has kids. I don't have to explain to him why it's bad to rape and murder a woman and send her dead body back to your ass, which is what he said in the lyric in the song We Be Steady Mobbing. I mean, he has daughters. I don't think he wants his daughter to be raped and murdered and have her body mailed back to somebody else. We're both fathers with daughters, so we're on the same page. The difference is that somehow somebody's paying you so much money to just say these things that you decided to ignore the truth. But the fact is that when you're sitting there and you're in your heart of hearts and you're being honest with yourself, you understand exactly where I'm coming from. And that's really it. I see Tyler the Creator as being a little bit different from Lil Wayne in the sense that Wayne is older. I think Wayne is figuring some things out now. I think he'll figure out more. I hope he lives long enough to see all this come to fruition because I do worry about some of the lifestyle that he's lived to this point. But in Kanye, I feel like Kanye. Is a brilliant guy. He had a brilliant mother. I think Kanye probably knows more about a lot of the things that I talk about than almost anybody. I think unfortunately Kanye sometimes gets sucked away by the craziness of celebrity life. I feel like Kanye's been troubled since his mother died. I feel like Kanye. I think he would get a lot of what I'm saying right now, and he's also getting older, so he understands a lot of this as well. Tyler the Creator is young. He's not gonna get it. He's not gonna get it the same way I didn't get it when my father checked me. when I was 21, 22 years old. When I was so caught up in what was cool that I didn't think about what was right. I got caught up in going along with the crowd so much that I didn't think about how certain things were going to affect my community. And I remember one time, and I'll say this and I'm done. I remember one time when my father, I was on a show, and this is actually in my early 30s. This wasn't even when I was a kid. I was on a show with a rapper, and I got caught up in the conversation, and I let some things slide that I normally would have said something about. And I even agreed with something that he knew I didn't agree with, and he just checked me on it. And he said never. He said, you're a black man. You're a man. Never ever go along with ignorance. Never support ignorance. Never support things that are going to destroy the people that you care about. And I thought about that, and I knew he was right. So that's what I'm saying to Tyler the Creator. Like, never go along with ignorance. And I think he understands that. And once again, most of his music is fine anyway. And with this Mountain Dew thing, I know he's still upset about that. I would be too. I mean, it's a lot of money. Whatever. So that's all I want to say about it. Just so you know, we do have a new film coming out called Resurrecting Black Wall Street. It is all about the Black Wall Street massacre back in 1921. Don't let anybody tell you that it's a race riot. A lot of people call it the Tulsa race riots, but it wasn't a riot. It was a massacre. It was where a bunch of black, affluent, very successful black people who had built a financially prosperous community were murdered en masse, sent to prison en masse, and had their assets stolen en masse. And no one ever was led to pay a price for what happened. There was no reparations. Nobody was ever incarcerated or tried for what they did. And so there's a lot of unfinished business there. And so we talk all about the film, and I hope you'll check it out. You can find out more about the film and maybe support it. I hope you will at resurrectingblackwallstreet.com. That's resurrectingblackwallstreet.com. Resurrecting Black Wall Street, or the Black Wall Street story, is a story that every black child in America should know, because the fact is that your oppressor will never teach you the truth about your history. Why would you rely on somebody who is hell-bent on oppressing you to teach you the things that are going to empower you? That is in direct contradiction to their interests. So educate your own kids, send them to school, but when they come home, make sure that you're teaching them the things they need to know in order to be an empowered black person, so that they can get out here and help fight this battle, the battle for the souls of our kids. So anyway, to Tyler the Creator, I want to give a big shout out and let you know, man, you can call me anytime, brother. I have nothing but respect for you and love for you, and that's what we'll be waiting for you if you reach out to me. I don't care how much you hate me. I don't care how many names you call me. Keep doing it, brother. It's totally fine with me. All right, well, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Please take care. God bless. I am gone.